on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day today. Bitcoin and cryptocurrency still just hanging around the same levels we've been at since we had that pump, basically on April 23rd. Now, having a look, we have discussed the similarities between the February 2019 pump and what is happening currently right now. Will we have a repeat of what we had in February of last year? We are getting very close to the end of this wedge. We're hitting some serious overhead resistance. We have the 200 daily moving average. We have this massively accumulated VPVR area, and you can see right here that pretty much within the next few days, Bitcoin is looking for a big break. Not only do we have that, we also have the upcoming Bitcoin halving, and one particular analyst who you might know very well for his stock to flow model, well, he's actually updated it. He's included clusters, and it looks like now we were looking for around a $55,000 Bitcoin in the period after the upcoming halving. Now we have it all the way up to $288,000 possible per Bitcoin, according to the new stock to flow model. I want to go into that, and I also want to discuss this interesting news from Russia. Essentially, they've actually increased their gold exports by 600% this year, and some are speculating that they may be looking to buy some Bitcoin. Now, this isn't the first time that we've heard about this, but if this is true, is Russia essentially looking to start the bull run? We're going to get into all that today if that sounds good to you. You know what to do. If you are not subscribed, definitely consider it. And without further ado, we're going to get directly into the charts. Now, like I just circled before in the intro, you can see right here, we are getting very, very close to the end of this resistance that we have, which was the support back here, starting in the beginning of March, and we do have this ascending trend. Now, if we do fall out of this trend, you could basically see we're actually having a bit of almost a double top where we topped out right here and right here as well. And if that's the case, although we do have a lot of other supports, for example, we could get supported by the heart line, which is basically the center of this ascending wedge. There is that possibility of falling all the way down to about the low $7,000. Now, does this mean that if we were to fall and go down to $7,000, you should become bearish? Not at all. It would actually be a great opportunity to accumulate the dip before potentially trying to break out of this wedge again. You can see if we do extend it and have a look at it as sort of an ascending triangle, this yellow line represents the halving, and interestingly enough, this does end almost exactly at the halving. Now, a lot of people are expecting the halving to sort of be a non-event, the day of the halving, nothing really happening. Although, wouldn't it be kind of crazy if on a technical perspective, we did have a massive breakout the day of the halving? That would actually throw people off, right? Most people are either expecting a dump or nothing really to happen at all. It is still possible that we could have a pullback. Currently, you see that on the weekly, we have put in a very small weekly candle so far, still looking a bit like a doji over here, basically showing some indecision of the market. However, we are closing above the 21 exponential, and I've gone over time and time again how important this green line is. You can see once we blasted through it back in April, Bitcoin went on an absolute tear. As soon as we got above it, we basically pumped, you can see right here, yeah, over 200%, 220%. So getting above that, breaking above that would be good. Also breaking above the 200 daily moving average, which actually, if I take everything away right here, you'll see that that is actually also sitting at around the $7,900 level. So lots of resistance right here, guys. We're going to see if the Bitcoin bulls have it in them. Also want to point out sort of a hidden CME futures gap. Now, you can't really see this on the chart, because it actually took place, over a weekend where obviously there's no trading, but there actually is a little bit of a gap here at around the $7,595 level. There is a possibility we could also dump just to fill that gap. Not really a big deal if we were. I don't think it would really shake the markets, but I just wanted to point that out. Also, not everyone is confident that any of this is going to be good for Bitcoin. For example, you have one of the biggest whale traders over at Bitfinex, Joe 007, kind of being a little bit sarcastic, saying, no, of course it's not priced in, referring to the halving. On the very day of the great halving, everybody will finally realize how underpriced Bitcoin is, and they will all rush in to buy in droves with their unemployment checks. Now, I wouldn't be surprised that he is expecting it to dump. As you can see right here over on Bitfinex, he is down a whopping 11.3 million on his trade. So, well, what is his trade? Well, considering the fact that Bitcoin has actually been slowly pumping upwards, one can only assume that he's in a short position. And yeah, he's a little bit underwater right now. So I would probably want the price of Bitcoin to go down as well. But, pointing over the fact that even though on the monthly we have had, a descending trend, lower lows and lower highs, you can see, as I pointed out by Crypto Hamster, that there are 3 bullish divergences going against the fact that we have been pulling back. You have the money flow index, the MACD, and the Fisher transform all showing bullish divergences, right? Lots of other people in crypto are still very positive about these prices. $250,000 Bitcoin still being held by Tim Draper. In fact, he says if it doesn't hit 250,000, he's going to eat a raw egg. All right, that's not as crazy as a bet as John McAfee eating his manhood, but his reason for that is that he states that one of the catalysts of Bitcoin adoption will be the benefits of retailers, right? Now, you recently saw Jack Dorsey come out, and he was talking about how Square's biggest problem is essentially that they can't act as an internet company because they have to constantly link up with banks. I want to actually play this clip for you super quick. It's 45 seconds, and this is why he explains that Bitcoin essentially solves this problem.
And I believe that the internet deserves and requires a native currency, and that's why I'm such a huge believer in Bitcoin, because it just our biggest problem as a company right now is we cannot act like an internet company. Open a new market, we have to have a partnership with a local bank. We have to pay attention to different regulatory onboarding environments. And a digital currency like Bitcoin takes a bunch of that away, where we can potentially launch a product in every single market around the world, because they're all using the same currency.
Now, you might have heard about the fact that the US dollar has actually been rising. We've seen some insane hyperinflation in a lot of other countries. So you might say, well, why move to Bitcoin when we do have things like the dollar? Well, he did explain essentially the fact that there is that friction. But at the same time, I wanted to refer to this tweet that Bob Lucas pointed out. And he said a USD rising means a fall in value for commodities like gold and Bitcoin. However, not to be confused with an environment like today, where all fiat currencies are falling, but less so for USD as world reserve, making it appear like the US dollar is rising. So it might actually be good for Bitcoin. Another thing that's good for Bitcoin is the halving. And I know yesterday people were saying that the chart was 3 days old. I forgot to refresh the page. As you guys know, this is done by blocks. It's not done by time. Look, 20 hours, 44 minutes. Watch, if I refresh this right now, 20 hours, 40 minutes. See how just 4 minutes just disappeared? So that was what happened. I didn't make a video that was 3 days old. I just forgot to refresh it. But anyway, we do have the halving coming up. And I want to talk about this new change to Plan B stock to flow asset model. Now, you guys are probably very familiar with this at this point. This is the model that is pretty much, looked at essentially the stock to flow of Bitcoin's overall supply plus its demand, etc. And basically what he says is that we need to look at it as phases. He says, for example, water has phases, solid, liquid, gas, ionized. The US dollar has had phases where first we basically had gold, then we had gold-backed dollars, then we had dollars essentially backed by nothing. Well, he says the Bitcoin narrative follows the same thing as well. We had a proof of concept, then we started using it for payments. Once you had USD parity, Bitcoin was equivalent to $1. Then he said the third was sort of after the first halving, where it almost had the gold parity, 1 ounce of gold equaled 1 Bitcoin. And then now we have a financial asset after the second halving, which basically it has 1 billion transactions per day. That was a milestone, legal clarity in Japan and Australia, futures markets, etc. backed. So you can go into this and see basically what he's been doing. Now, he basically put this into clusters right here, and I'm not going to go into this too much. It's actually a little bit in detail, but you can come over to this summarized version of it over on Crypto Potato, and essentially you could see that adding silver and gold to the market makes it a real cross-asset model. So they basically say that the stock-to-flow model shows a significant relationship between the stock-to-flow market and the value of these 6 assets, which actually surprisingly fit perfectly. So using the new S2FX formula, he comes to the conclusion that Bitcoin's market value in the period following the upcoming halving, the one happening right now, and the next one, so basically between this year and 2024, should make Bitcoin's market cap 5.5 trillion, which is still only about a third of what gold's is at that point, and that would put the price of Bitcoin at around $288,000 per Bitcoin. It's possible, guys. It's definitely possible. And that's certainly significantly higher than the 55K prediction that they had recently. Now, also talking about the relationship between Bitcoin and gold, before I talk about the Russia situation, is, a lot of people say that, well, the data is showing that Bitcoin is just correlated. It kind of just does whatever the stocks do. It kind of just does whatever gold does. Well, if we actually look at this, the 1 month correlation between Bitcoin and gold, according to this skew chart, actually shows that as of April 28th, which I think is today, I'm losing track of days over here in quarantine. But anyway, the correlation between the two was recorded to be negative 42.8%. So gold, despite reaching its highest price point since 2013, has actually had 2.4% loss in the past 5 days. Now, I know that's really nothing. What's 2.4%? But the point is, we've seen Bitcoin growing in value. So considering the economic ramifications currently engulfing the market, it is significant to actually look at this correlation between Bitcoin and gold. And yeah, Bitcoin kind of is doing its own thing right now, which does prove that Bitcoin is acting as an uncorrelated asset. Now, before we get into this article about, is Russia going to spark the bull market, etc., I just wanted to point out that this article is actually written by a guy named Vladislav Ginko, and it says that he's the former vice rector of Moscow-based Jewish University, and currently he is an analyst and lecturer at Russia's leading state think tank, Presidential Academy. So, I just wanted to point out the fact that, take this with a grain of salt, but this is somebody who is, involved in sort of what is happening with Russia. So I figured it was a good example to take. So you can see essentially he says that the Russian government has, now keep in mind, this is from his perspective, okay? But he does say that the Russian government has simplified selling gold abroad. Now all of the gold miners have an open gate to sell. And this was driven by the country's central bank's decision to essentially halt buying physical gold since the first of this month. Gold is maybe no longer as attractive as it was to them. Now, just to kind of point this out, you could see that they have exported 600%, basically what they usually export in gold, to 17 tons in comparison with the amount sold the past year. Now, what does this mean? Well, it's kind of interesting that you're seeing gold prices rising so high, and yet they're selling. So are they thinking this could be a gold top? Potentially. It could be a completely harmless thing. They're just trying to cash in, and this is why they were holding all this time, right? Maybe that was the point. But you can see that Russia's bank sits on 80 tons, and they don't want to swallow any more volume. So having a look at what the Russian investors are looking at, comparing to gold in 2011, you basically had gold sitting around $1,900. Fast forward to today, you have gold roughly, give or take what day you're looking at it, sitting at around $1,750. Having a look at Bitcoin in 2011, you had a 30-cent Bitcoin. Even at the end of that year, not even just looking at what Bitcoin did to today's standards, obviously being above 7,000, in just that 1 year alone, Bitcoin went from 30 cents to $4.72. So the question is, are rainy funds being held in the hands of companies as well as the middle class partially looking to invest in Bitcoin, especially over in Russia? You can see that their central bank holds only about 19% of its reserves in gold. Their falling appetite for gold is a real signal. They say another signal is that the biggest gold import in the world, side note, India, has drastically slashed its orders by 60% in April. Despite seeing a lot of retail and millionaires and billionaires buying into gold, you're seeing these actual country central bank reserves selling them off. So for Russians, gold seems a toxic asset. Its dollar-nominated price looks depressing. The U.S. sanctions imposed on Russia, and whose power is still evolving, may lead to the sale of this precious metal from Russia abroad, and it seems Russia could start falling in love with Bitcoin. Now, keep in mind, this is just an op-ed, but let me know what you think about this. This is not the first time we've heard about Russia potentially looking to secretly accumulate Bitcoin in the background, and considering that it looks like there's 600% increase compared to what they were doing as far as gold exports, the question is, are they looking into Bitcoin? Are they looking to hold US dollars? I wouldn't think so. But let me know what you think about that below. And finally, according to an announcement, the Chinese state has approved another 224 blockchain-related projects. So I know, blockchain, not Bitcoin, but it is still a step in the right direction. And guess what, guys? Yesterday, the winner of the Ledger Nano S actually sent me a message and said, hey, I already have a Ledger. Why don't you give it away to somebody else? So that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to give away the Ledger to another lucky winner. So this is why you have to comment on every video if you're looking to win. And actually, yesterday's video is eligible now. So we will do 6 videos. So let's see. All right. So that's video number 1. So that's all the way back here. Bitcoin Critical Zone. So let's pop this in and let's give away the Ledger that we were supposed to give away yesterday. Hopefully this website is working today. Oh my goodness, is there something wrong with this website, guys? Come on, let's do this. There we go. Look, finally, we're generating comments. I don't know what was wrong with it yesterday. Okay, 349 unique comments. Drum roll, please. For the Ledger Nano S again. Let's see. Ledger, please. Wow, Patrick Rosa, you got straight to the point, huh? All right, well, you are the Ledger winner. Congratulations. So basically, do not drop any comments below or anything. If you want to hit me up, you can either go to my official Telegram group, which you should definitely check out. You know, people hang out. We talk crypto. Actually, we did get a warning today from Mike. I forgot to mention it. Huobi token, HT. It looks like there's a scam version of it going around. I'll put that in tomorrow's video. Just be careful. Make sure you only buy from legitimate sources. But yeah, congratulations to Patrick. You can hit me up either in the official About Me section or in the Telegram. Thank you so much again for coming back to the channel. You guys rock. You're the reason that I do this every single day. Until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.